You know, one of my biggest pet peeves about Donald Trump is the fact that he never actually answers a question. I have to hand it to the guy. He is a master at dodging a question, taking it in a direction that had nothing to do with what the person asked, and he'll even go out of his way to vilify the person who asked the question. And it annoys me because back when I was a kid, I never was able to get off the hook like that. Anytime my parents asked me a question, if I ramble, they would listen to me ramble, and when I got done rambling, they go, okay, but you didn't answer the question. We don't care about all that stuff you just said. Answer the question we asked you. My grandmother was the same way. She'd say, Brando, I didn't ask you that. Go back and answer the question I just asked you. It used to get on my nerves so bad because they would hold me accountable. Finally, I just came to the point where I was like, you know what? I got to tell the truth in this family. They're not going to let anything else slide. And then I just sat back and watched a guy that once upon a time was leader of the free world and wants to be again, get asked questions point blank, and I watch him duck and dodge all over the place, and he just gets a pass for it. Right here, he's asked point blank, are you pro-choice or are you pro-life? Watch how far in the weeds he goes to avoid that answer.
Excuse me, please.
Just a follow-up. Over the last few decades, Mr. President, you have both considered yourself pro-choice and pro-life. Which one is it?
Well, you know exactly which one it is. And when I was in New York and when I was a Democrat also, just like Ronald Reagan, you know, Ronald Reagan was a Democrat. We sort of followed a very similar path. But if you look at what we've done with Roe v. Wade, we did something that everyone said couldn't be done, and we got it done. And I give great credit to the Supreme Court and the justices for having the courage to do it. What they did is very simply give it back to the state. And I'll tell you, the Democrats are the radicals on this because they're willing to have abortions in the 7th, 8th, 9th month.
So can someone please tell me, what does him once upon a time being a Democrat, now he's a Republican, what does that have to do with the question of are you pro-choice or are you pro-life? What does Ronald Reagan have to do with any of it? What does Ronald Reagan once upon a time being a Democrat and becoming a Republican later in life, what does that have to do with the question, are you pro-choice or pro-life? You know how you answer that? You start and you say, I'm pro-choice, I'm pro-life, and you can tell why. But he always takes the long way around because he really doesn't want to answer that question because he realizes that when he does, he's got to run on that. He's went around bragging about overturning Roe versus Wade. He's went around bragging about killing it. But now he's in this position where he's broke it and now he's going to have to pay for it. And he really doesn't want to answer those kind of tough questions. So he'll just duck and dodge. But once upon a time, Donald Trump was pro-choice and was pretty vocal about it. Take a look at this clip.
I thought I would read a statement because so many people have been asking my views on it. And that is the following. I am pro-choice, but I respect the views of those who are not. I believe that this is a very personal decision that must be left to women and their doctors, not to the politicians.
Okay, so let's stop and think about this one for a minute. Let's say you're an evangelical Christian and your stance has always been that you're pro-life. That's the side of the argument you've always been on. Does that not offend you to hear him say that? And if you heard him say it back then, I'm sure you didn't agree with it. I'm sure if you heard him say it back then, you was like, oh, look at that baby-killing Democrat. I'm sure that's what you thought. But now you give him a pass for it. And I'm sure there's people out there that would say, oh, well, that's back before he ran for president. Yeah, and that makes it even worse because what that tells you is back before he ran as a Republican, that was how he believed. That's who he really is. And then when he got in with the Republican Party, he realized, wait a minute, in order to win on the Republican side of the ticket, I have to appeal to evangelicals. I have to appeal to the churches. So I have to now adopt this belief system that I don't really have. And when you hear him talk about religion, yeah, I go to the Sunday churches. I go to the Sunday churches. He doesn't even know, he has no clue about any of it. Can't name one verse out of the Bible, nothing. He just realized, hey, I got to win over that crowd. So now suddenly I'll be pro-life. Now I'll say all life is precious. And I'll say that I'm giving it back to the states. But this isn't a states' rights issue. This is a women's rights issue. And we can't let them hijack this term now and go, oh, we just give it back to the states. And some states are doing tremendous and some states may not be. But, you know, we just got to leave it up to them. It's not up to the states. It's up to the women. And Donald Trump himself one time said the exact same thing, that it should be left up to women and their doctors. That's what he said before he realized, hey, wait a minute, I got to dupe these Christians. And he duped those Christians so good that he's out bragging about the fact that Lee Greenwood is selling Bibles. Look at this.
We made more money from one song than anybody in the history of music, okay? And he's doing pretty well with the Bible, too.
There you go. So he's bragging about money that's being made off Bibles, and people are cool with that. What's funny to me is back when I was a kid, every church I went to would give you a free Bible, and they frowned upon people who would charge you for it. I remember one time I went to this event and I bought a Bible, and when I came back, my church was like, "Did you pay for that?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, they shouldn't have charged you for that. That's the Word of God. They shouldn't charge for the Word of God." And now those same people are excited that Donald Trump is selling Bibles. That's why I can't take them seriously anymore. That's why they have no credibility to me anymore. They wouldn't even live up to the standards they set for themselves. Why should I ever take them seriously? And not to get sidetracked here, but Lee Greenwood, come on. I have listened to country music my entire life. I grew up on it. I have written country music for over 25 years and played it all over my part of the world. And in all the gigs I played, yeah, on the 4th of July, someone might want to hear God Bless the USA, which I've never sang. I would just play it on the jukebox for them. But I have never had somebody walk up and say, "Hey, man, play us some Greenwood." That's never happened. I've never had anyone come to the party with a fifth of Jack Daniels like, "Woo, crank up the Greenwood." It don't happen, okay? He is not a country music great in anybody's world, and anybody out there that tells you he is full of shit. The guy grifted off of America. He grifted off the Bible, and it's a piece of shit thing to do. No one should ever take him seriously. It's so ridiculous. But they are telling us exactly who they are, and we need to be listening to them because they're trying their damnedest to tell us, so we shouldn't be shocked later. And Vice President Kamala Harris makes a great point here. You got to check this out.
And now Trump wants us to believe he will not sign a national ban. Enough with the gaslighting. Enough with the gaslighting. We all know if Donald Trump gets the chance, he will sign a national abortion ban. And how do we know? Just look at his record. Just look at the facts. Y'all know I'm a former prosecutor. Just look at the facts. Congress tried to pass a national abortion ban in 2017. And the then president, Trump, endorsed it and promised to sign it if it got on his desk. Well, the great Maya Angelou once said, "When someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time." Donald Trump has told us who he is.
She's absolutely right. He's telling us exactly who he is, and if he gets the opportunity, he will sign a national abortion ban. He will do it because it doesn't affect him. He will do it because he has to appease that base that he's grifted, that base that he's conned, that base that he didn't change his viewpoint. He just told them what they wanted to hear so he could get in there. That's what he did. I'm sure deep down he still believes the way he always did. It's just, whoa, wait, I can't say that. That's why he didn't want to answer the question at the start of this video. That's why he dodged it. Well, I'm really pro-choice, but hold on a minute. Mike Johnson's in earshot. I better say something different. I better say something to appease my base because they're dumb enough to buy it. People don't even realize how insulting it is. And it's even more, I don't know, it's like I'm embarrassed for them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm insulted for them. Like, I feel insulted, and he ain't even grifted me or conned me. I just feel insulted that he's done it to other people because it's just like sitting back watching somebody get the shit kicked out of them, and you're like, dang, man, you didn't get a punch in nowhere. You didn't even get a shot in. You didn't even do anything. That's what it feels like. I just feel like I'm a boxing trainer on the ropes going, God, my guy's getting killed, and he's not listening to me. Man, he's getting the shit kicked out of him, and he won't listen to a word I've got to say. That's where we're at. But we need to believe them when they tell us who they are. We shouldn't be shocked later. You know, I had so many people back in 2016 arguing about it. We can't have Hillary Clinton. I don't like her personality. You're never going to find a president who you like everything about him. And if you do, then you're over there in that cult with them.